Okay, so recording also is indicated. All right, so let's go back to the command prompt. So this is the place where you are. The home directory is your /home/tsr. So normally that /home is the directory where all the user directories will be created. If there is another person like ROM, there can be a directory called /home/ROM. So that user is going to work under that particular thing. So let us now see what is there in the /etc/password file. So this is the contents of that. As you can see, it's giving the line numbers and all that because you are using the command called NL, number the lines. The actual data is this: root:(x:0:0:0) and all that. One line contains information about one user on that particular system. Root is a special privileged user who can access the files and folders like on your system. All the files and folders can be accessed by the root. Root is a special user who can access everything, who can make any kind of operations on this particular system. So, so that he is going to administer, he is going to monitor the activities of on that particular system and all that. So, if you also pay attention to this, there are too many colons. So in the Linux platform, whenever you use a text-based files, text files. So in order to store the information, one mechanism is we normally consider each line as a record. It is considered as a record. Just like you have tables, right, in MySQL tables and all that. One row corresponds to one record, right? Similarly here, one line corresponds to one record. But then there may be a number of fields. There can be a number of fields within the same record. How are you going to store that? So to distinguish between one field and another, you are going to use something called a delimiter, field delimiter, or field separator. It is also sometimes called, right? Field separator. So this colon is acting as a field separator. So first root is one field, X is another field, 0 is the third field, another 0 is the fourth field, root is fifth field, this is sixth one, this is seventh one. So altogether you have 7 fields in this particular, each line here correspond to that. So, and they may have some special meaning as far as etc password is concerned. The very first one is the username, this is called. The first field is a username. The second field is the encrypted password field actually. So people used to store encrypted passwords in the earlier Linux systems. But later, because people can hack your password file, and once you hack your password file, you will have all the encrypted information. Then they can use some kind of techniques and then guess the word, guess the actual password, and match the corresponding encrypted encrypted version of the guess with the corresponding encrypted password here. So they can break the passwords very easily if you have access to the encrypted passwords also. So that's why what they have done is they have made the second field as X straight away, and they are now storing the encrypted password information in another file called /etc/shadow, and that file will not have even read permission to any of the users. Normal users cannot read the contents of the encrypted file, which is /etc/shadow file. So that way, even the hackers now cannot actually get access to the encrypted information also. So that is how they have enhanced the protection and all that. Anyhow, so all this has become the necessity because it has become more networked world. All the systems are on the network, and anybody can try to hack and get the information there and all that. So you have to provide more protection and all that. So earlier, Unix systems like maybe the 50 years old and all that, not many systems are there on the network, and all like maybe serious users used to work on that, and nobody used to like maybe uh, get access to unwanted information and all that. But now that all these things, lot of importance is placed to security aspect also. Anyhow, so this is the encrypted password field, second one. The third field is the user ID. User ID. Remember, in the computer science general terms, this ID and name you are going to come across in many areas, right? ID is mostly useful for optimization purpose, for the computer to use. It is easy for a computer to work on numbers than on strings, than on names. Because name comparison, if you take, it takes more time because you can't compare the entire name, but instead what you normally do is you are going to compare the individual characters and then decide. So you need more comparisons to know whether a particular user is the same or not, that kind of thing. So name comparisons take more time compared to number comparisons. Number comparison is a matter of a single comparison. Just compare this ID with another ID. If both of them are same, you say that like it is the same ID kind of thing. So you are going to use in many areas, in fact, ID and name. So in this case also, user ID and username. So whenever such a thing is there, sometimes it's also possible to have multiple names to the same user ID if you require, for example. So such things we normally call them as aliases, right? Alias is having more than one name to the same entity, to the same idea, to the same concept, probably, right? So this is there. Even for example, you take the memory and all that. You have variable name, and you also have memory location, address. So the same address can be given multiple names. It is also possible, and such a feature is called as aliasing concept. Similarly, here in the file system, you have the concept called a file. File is again a general idea. So you have a very large disk, like which has got maybe 1 terabyte of storage is there. But you can't store a single file there and store use the entire 1 terabyte. What we do, you try to organize this large 1 terabyte storage so that like small areas can be used to store small files and give a different name to that particular area, right? A file is a concept there. The file name is there. But remember, just now we said most of the times computers go by IDs rather than by names. Names are meant for the users to understand that this is what it is. Because we cannot understand or remember more ID numbers. We can remember more names, right? ID numbers, it is difficult. You take, for example, phones also. Phone numbers are there mapped to phone users. So we normally remember the names of our friends and friends and family members or whatever, whereas we don't remember their mobile numbers. So that's why you make use of the what it is, contacts or whatever, and in that you store username versus or mobile username versus the corresponding number and all that. So you search in the contacts for the name and then dial that particular person and all that, right? So we are more comfortable with the names, and systems are more comfortable with the ID numbers. So like that, there is every file, as we are saying, it will have a name. It will also have another ID called inode number. Every file will have a unique inode number. So actually, internally, the computer will always go by the inode number rather than by the name. And we always ask the system in terms of name of the corresponding file and all that. So again, there can be a concept called aliasing. The same inode number, the same file having the same inode number can have multiple names, right? Which are called as aliases. So you can try to access the same file either by this name or by another name, which we will come to that a little later. So like this, there are several explanations, several examples can be given. You take, for example, on the networked environment, you will have a network interface card, NIC card. Every card will have a unique identifying what it is number. So it will have two numbers there, in fact. One physical number called as MAC ID, Medium Access Control ID. So every NIC card will have a uniquely identifiable MAC ID. And apart from that, there can be something called a virtual ID, which is normally called as IP address, Internet Protocol address. Every machine will have a uniquely identifiable IP address. But most of the time, we don't go by MAC ID or by the IP address. We go by something called domain name. So whenever you want to access, for example, Google, we don't know what their IP addresses are. But we always type google.com. But remember, all the communication internally happens not in terms of the domain names, but rather in terms of IP numbers. So only for the users to make them more convenient, this naming concept is always going to be there. But internally, many things go by the numbers. So this bigger picture, if all of you understand, you will have like easy time in understanding many other areas. Anyhow, so that is about user ID. Here, 0, like in the your Linux or Unix platform, ID having 0 is a special ID actually, and that corresponds to the root. It doesn't go by the name here. Any any user name having a user ID of 0 is considered as root in the case of the Linux. You can give another name and give the same user ID as 0, then that name also, that user also is going to get all the special privileges, root privileges. Anyhow, so this is user ID having 0. And in this case, user ID having 1, user ID having 2 and all that. So the next number or the next field is the group ID. Group ID means, like as already we have seen in the last class, against a file, the permissions are there. There are 3 levels of permissions. Read, write, execute, permissions for the owner of the file. Read, write, execute permission for the group of the file. And read, write, execute permissions for the other users. So it is possible for a group of members to work on a project, and they would like to share the files and work on them. So that way people can still own the files and still can share the file to the group members by having the same group ID among those members there as a part of it. So group ID here is 0. And after that, like this is maybe the what you call this is called as user information. You can type in anything here, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth field. Fifth field talks about you can give all your other details like your mobile number, what is your designation, and other details. So this information is also sometimes called as finger details, finger information. There is a command called finger by which you can actually get information about this particular field. So what? So as far as the username is concerned, it should be unique. So that's why some names is going to be there. Whereas in this field, you can give the complete name, your surname, first name, last name, and all that. You can give your mobile number also, so that the system administrator or some of the other users, if they would like to contact you, they can find the finger information and contact you as such from the system also. So that is about this finger information, fifth field. The sixth one is the home directory. So whenever the user logs in, so what is the home directory? Home directory for this particular root is /root. For other users, there can be something else. So for TSR, as we have already seen, /home/TSR. That is the home directory. And the last field here talks about what is a shell, what is the command that is to be executed whenever the user logs in. Most of the time, the command is likely to be a shell, so whenever the user logs in, a shell is going to be executed, so that the shell will interact with the user. The shell will interact with the user so that the user can submit another command. He can actually edit a file, he can compile the file, he can run it. So a kind of a shell will be provided. So the shell here, the path of the shell is /bin/bash. Bash stands for born again shell. Earlier in the Unix platform, there used to be a shell. So the name of the person who developed that or NE. So under the Linux platform, they have added many more features to the shell, and that is called as born again shell, bash. There are many more other shells as well. Corn shell is there, KSH it is called, ZSH is there, fish, FISH shell is there. Like that, there are so many other shells. So one can use any kind of thing. C shell also is there and all that. The basic purpose of a shell is to provide an environment for the user, an interactive environment for the user, so that user can submit commands, run them. Maybe you can edit files, you can compile them, you can do all kind of software programming, development environment and all that. So that is the purpose of that. That's why here that very shell is going to be provided. So like this, there are so many things, as you can see. All these are the uses. Somewhere at the end, you will see our TSR related directory. So here, 41th entry, TSR is the username, encrypted password, 1000 is the user ID, group ID is 1000, and this is the actual name, comma. Most of the time, finger details are separated by commas within this. It is the same single field, right? And within this, there can be so many other details, and all those so many other details are separated by commas, right? So that is one thing. And then the home directory is /home/tsr. The shell is /bin/bash. MySQL user. So there is another thing and all. Anyhow, so that is about home directory. You are actually talking about /home/tsr. So where are we right now? So this is where. Whereas you want to change the directory into network programming folder. So I'm saying CD followed by NP. Now you are in this home TSR NP here. So if you want to see what are the files that are there, the command for that is ls. It only displays the files, all the files that are there in the current working directory. If you don't give any arguments there, it's going to display only the files present in the current working directory. ls, list the files. So all those names are there and all that. But ls has got many more options. If you want to list the files in a different folder, for example, in the parent directory you want, then you can give /ls. That means it's going to display all the files and folders present in the parent directory of the current working directory. So it's going to give big list because there are so many files there as a part of it. Similarly, if you want to display the files present in /bin directory, bin stands for binaries. All executable files in Linux platform are stored in special folder called /bin. For example, you are giving command like ls or a vi or some other cat. So NL, all those commands, their executables are normally placed in /bin folder. So when you issue ls/bin, as you can see, it is running fast very quickly. And most of them are colored with green. Green color means that it is executable. It is executable. So ls is going to display in colored format also. Whereas if you want to display like what it is, the file type and all that, Yesterday we have seen there is an option for that called capital F, file type. You want to display the file type. Then for all executables, the file name is going to end with star. It's going to display a star there at the end of it. For all the folders, it's going to display a slash. So like that, as you can see now, so all of them are starred there, meaning that they are executable files. So in fact, like we can also see now, like within our own current folder. So these are the things. You don't have any executable and you don't have any like folders right now. So in this particular thing. So that's why like they are all there as a part of it. Anyhow. So now that like if you want to display long listing of all the files, then this is what you are going to see it. Right. So this is better, I think. So it is now displaying in this particular format, a long listing, right? Capitals.txt, crickbat, and all that. Yesterday also we have seen. And first it's going to tell you total 44 kilobytes. That's what you really mean by. All the files that are being displayed here, they occupy a space of 44 kilobytes. Right? So how does it, how do we know that? We'll come to know that particular thing. So total 44 kilobytes. And each one here, capitals.txt, the actual size of the file is 47 bytes. Crickbat records.txt, 6,609 bytes. So this is the actual size of the files. These are the permissions. This is the number of links. That means there is only one file name to this particular file. As we said, we can give multiple names to the same file. But what do you mean by same file? Same means that there will be a single ID for that particular file, which is normally called as inode number. Inode number is the same, meaning that for two files, inode number is the same, meaning that both of them refer to the same file. It's not same content, it is the same file. So that is more important. Anyhow, so, and then the username here, this is a group name. Just like user ID, username is there, similarly, there is another file called /etc/group. And that group file will have all the valid group ID and group names. So this is a group name. The first one is the username. This is the size. This is the like time, as you can see, April 22nd, 8:19, and some more seconds and all can be there. Against every file, the system maintains the last access time. What is the last time that this file is accessed? You can access that in order to read the contents or to modify the contents. You can make changes to the contents, no doubt. There are two things actually. Either the contents can be changed or the metadata can be changed. Every file, as you can see, will have some metadata and the actual data. Data that you are storing inside capitals.txt is the actual data. Maybe capitals like New Delhi, Amaravati, and other things, or Hyderabad. So, and other details can be there. But apart from that, this file has got some metadata. Metadata includes the file name and what is the date and on which the file is last accessed or whatever. What is the owner of the file? What are the permissions? So all these details are the metadata. If there is any change in the metadata, that date also is going to be stored against every file. So that is the modification like status time we normally call it. So there are two timings, right? So two important times, which we will see like how it is going to be reflected and all that. So right now, because at a time only one date and time is going to be displayed, this is by default last like access time, lost access time. That's what you really mean by it. And then the name of the file, whatever. Now let us see, like let us make use of some more features of this particular thing. So when you issue a command, like option called yes, right? Pay attention to this. When you issue the option called yes here, yes stands for size. Now it is also displaying the size in terms of number of kilobytes. As you can see, the very first thing now, as you can see here, is a capitals.txt, 47 bytes actual size of the file. But you cannot store only 47 bytes. Always remember the other day, every file, whenever you want to store something, it's going to be allocated one block of information. One block on the disk is going to be allocated. And when one entire block is completely used, then still you want to write some more data, then it's going to allocate another block. So one block size will vary normally from computer to computer. Most of the times under the Linux platform, a block stands for 4 kilobytes. One block stands for 4 kilobytes. Even if you want to create a file with 0 size, right, it is likely to occupy one block, 4 kilobytes of it. Or a single byte you want to store, still it's going to give you 4 kilobytes. On the secondary storage, that much of storage is given to you. So there is a fragmentation naturally. You are not using a part of it and all. That's what you study in operating systems, internal fragmentation. You are given more than what you require, so naturally a part of it is not used. So 4 kilobytes. So similarly, the second one is 8 kilobytes, another one 4 and all. So if you add all these by all these sizes, you will get this 44. You can see here 4 plus 8 is 12. 12 plus 8 is here 20, 28, and then 36, 40, and 44. So 44 kilobytes, all these files together is occupied. And it is displaying all these things. Sometimes you want to display the largest file so that if you want to save some space and unwanted file is there occupying a lot of space and all that, many times we do that, right? So we can do that, or you can display all the files in a sorted fashion based on the file size. So when you are issuing capital yes, so you can see there multiple options can be given by just starting with a hyphen, and then all different options that you have in any order. It doesn't matter. Yes, L or LS, either way, like as long as all the options, relevant options you are selecting, it's going to do that. So what it is going to do, it's going to give you a long listing of all the files. And within that long listing, file size in terms of kilobytes also is going to be displayed. And because of the capital S, it is going to sort all these files based on the file sizes. So that just pay attention. Right now, these are the things. Capitals first, later click back and all that. It is basically file names. Default display is that. Whereas I'm now giving capital S here, and then see here what is happening. So still it is displaying the same files, 44 kilobytes, but the first file name is actually T20 International Records, 7033 bytes. This is the actual size of the file. This is the largest file in this particular folder. So the next largest, and so on. So capital S will help you to sort the files based on the file sizes. Based on the file sizes. If you want to actually get see the smallest size first, followed by the next smallest, and so on, there is another option for that, which is called as R here. R stands for reverse the sense of comparison. Reverse the sense of comparison. Let us see. I don't know. Like we'll have to look at it, right? So this is what it is, as you can see, 47, 53, and all that particular. So the same file names are displayed in different orders based on your requirement, and accordingly you can take appropriate decisions there and all that. R stands for reverse the sense of comparison. Instead of ascending order, you are now displaying in descending order. And S indicates based on this you are sorting based on the file size. Based on the file size. We can do all this even against the files related to the files under /bin, for example. Normally there you will find much bigger files and all that. So I'm just, there may be so many other files and all that. So your display pipe it to less. Right? Then it's displaying the files under /bin, long listing with the file size in kilobytes and sorting and all that. So you want to see, for example, biggest file. So only capital S. So now if you see, so busybox is the actual command, right? That is occupying so much. So maybe how big is it? 20 lakhs, 62,000. So about 2 MB kind of it. 2 MB kind of it. So you can see here 2016 kilobytes or 2 MB, whatever. Bash, your bash command, the executable command, its size is 1 MB, 1088 kilobytes. The next one is, and several other things. Nano is a editor there. grep is another command. grep, the size is 216 kilobytes. So like this, you can always get to know about. Capital S is meant for that. Similarly, like there are many more, like these things are there. Inode number is one thing, just now we talked about. So how to know the inode number of the files? There is an option called I. I stands for inode number. So you want to display the inode number about every file as a part of it. Now you can see the very first one is the inode number, actually. Here. Inode number is always displayed at the beginning. And your size is, in terms of kilobytes, is also displayed next to that particular thing. And several other details. So these are the inode numbers of, and all these inode numbers are going to be unique, meaning that their contents also are going to be unique, kind of it, as a part of that. So this is how you can always display. So instead of long listing and all that, you want to display the size and this particular thing. This way also you can. You are now displaying only the size, inode number, and the file. Right? All these things. Depending upon what information are you interested, you can always look at it. Sometimes you want to know only the file names, right? You can always give ls is there, no doubt. But sometimes you want to have a comma separated file names, right? For example, comma separated file names. So for that, there is an option called -m whenever you give, right? So you can see there, it is actually displaying all the file names separated by commas. And then you can take that, use it to whatever purpose that you would like to, and all that. So the actual developers, they understand like what is being required from it on a daily basis. All such kind of features are added to most of the commands. What all of you have to do is to explore the features and see what are the most useful things, start using them. And after some time, and again, like explore some more unused things, what you are not using. Is there anything, some more important feature? So start using. So that way you become more, like it becomes easy for you. It becomes so natural that you are using, you get habituated. Right? So similarly, there is something called ls minus lt. Like if you just simply say like t here, let me also display the long listing of this particular thing. T there, like ls minus t. So if you just pay attention to this particular these things in a specific time order, as you can see, this is the latest file actually, April 22nd, 8:33. So like this, it is displaying all these files based on their access time, based on their like a last modification time, that kind of stuff. So months.txt is the oldest one, December 25th, like it is talking about maybe the last year actually. So that's why it is the oldest related thing. So same thing now, you want the reverse of it, right? TL you are giving and all that. So you give, for example, L or here to that particular thing. So you can see now it is displaying all of them in the reverse of that particular thing. The oldest file first, followed by the others, and so on in that particular order. So there is another thing like that you may have to use. Timing means there are two timings, we said, right? So the LT kind of thing. So there is a timing based on like creation, like a status modification. The other one is something totally different. Let me just pay attention to this. So when you give C here, right, TLC. So months are that and all that. It is the reverse kind of thing. So that let us see months.txt December 25 8, whereas the other things week anyhow April 20 all that. So here you are actually seeing something different, right? The dates and all that. Like how to know that, the best thing is always try to use uh, smaller things, smaller number of things that go by. So months and marks, if you just pay attention to that, now it is displaying only the all the files starting with M. All the files starting with M whenever you issue in that particular thing. If you don't use C here, right, and then do here, you are actually seeing different timings there. Different timings there as a part of it. And that is actually is nothing but U actually here. So you give U or you don't give it, right? So you are going to 8 o'clock and 21 13 48. So you are actually talking about. So all those related stuff are there, marks and all that. Whereas you issue C here, right? C there. C is 47 and all that particular entry. Anyhow, so there are two timings that what you will have to understand. Pay attention to that. Based on that, you can actually examine. So do you have any other options and all that? If you just look into that, as I always say, man followed by ls. So start reading the man pages, right? It is a slightly, it's not a tutorial. Naturally, the language is going to be a little hard. But if you start understanding that, because they don't give multiple explanations and all that, they only write a simple sentence. Each sentence will have a lot of meaning, right? Small a means all, or that means there can be files starting with dot, which are not going to be displayed by ls by default. They are hidden files, sometimes called. But if you want to display even those files starting with dot, you have to use an option called a. And in that includes dot and dot dot. Dot is the current directory, dot dot is a parent directory. Even those things also will be displayed whenever you issue minus a. When you issue minus capital A, dot and dot dot are not displayed, but other hidden files starting with dot will be displayed. And you can see there are so many. C, whenever you issue minus C option with minus LT, sort by and show C time, time of last modification of file status information. That is what it's going to actually give. C time is time of last modification of file status, status information, metadata information. Any metadata changes, that time it's going to display whenever you use C option. Show C time and sort by other things and all. Minus capital C by column names and all that. Minus D, only list the directory, don't list the directory contents. We have already used that. Do not sort, enable AU and all that. Minus F, classify, we have already seen that. File type. Format, right? Across is minus X, commas is minus M, horizontal is X, long is L, single column 1. verbose is right minus L there as a part of it, and then vertical is minus C. So there are different formats by which you can actually use. Human readable, like especially the numbers and all that, it's going to display in terms of K, M, and G, kilobytes, megabytes, and all that. Minus H. Many other commands also use H, human readable. SI is SI units. Instead of 1024, 1K is 1024 actually. But we are more comfortable in terms of hours of 1000. So in such cases, we can use minus minus SI units kind of thing. So minus inode number it prints, as you can see. Minus K is something, L is default, all that. Minus M we have seen, filled with a comma separated list. We have seen that. Numeric ID or name you want. So there you can use minus N and all that. So like this, there's so many options. But remember, you first make a reading and then pick up those things that you feel that you are going to use immediately and start using them. After some time, again visit. You may find some more useful things, right? So that's how you'll have to do that. Minus R is reverse order while sorting, but minus capital R is also going to be very useful. You want to list all the files and folders in a particular thing. Normally, it only lists the files and folders in the current directory. But if there is a folder in the current directory, it doesn't go inside and display all those files. Right? But if you want to display all of them right below a particular directory, then you use capital R. List the subdirectories, also recursive. So it also displays the subdirectory contents. Within that, if there is a directory, even that directory's files, folders, everything. It's a very big list you are going to get when you use capital R. This R is going to be where many other places also you are going to use. Recursive, capital R stands for recursive. Even in grep also we use that. So yes, is print the allocated size of each file in blocks, right? So in blocks it is actually displaying. So in our case, maybe like so 4 blocks there. One block stands for 1 kilobyte, whatever. Maybe because of that, it is doing all that. Capital S we have already seen. So there are different ways by which you can sort them, as you can see. So by default, like minus S is there. Similarly, minus T based on the timing. Based on the extension, this is also very useful like feature. You want to display all the text files in one place, all the document files in one place, like that. So you can sort based on the extension by giving minus capital X. By giving minus capital X. It's going to be very handy. All Java files in one place, all C programs in one place, right? So that is possible. So like this, there are so many options, and it is how much you are going to take it. Instead, if you start reading on your own and experimenting that, like everything becomes a part of you, right? So extension, in case you want to, right now in this folder, you don't have many extensions. All of them are having same .txt extension. Instead, in the parent folder, you will find all of them. So for example, now, so you want to have capital X. Extension is extension based sorting is capital X, and that's it. Let us say, right, and then display the parent directory. Display the parent directory. There are so many files, so you pass it through less, like this, right? So now, as you can see, so you are seeing one crypto desktop and all that fabric and so on, like that. It's going by, right? So NP pictures and all that. After some time, you will find now you are actually seeing all the C programs all in one place. 72.c, data representation.c, fopen demo.c. If you don't give it alphabetical order, it is something totally different, right? It's not in alphabetical order now. It is based on extension order. So all C files are coming first, and then all the class files having extension of dot class, they are all there in one place. And after that, all HTML files are coming to one place, all Java files coming to one place, like this, right? So there are so many useful features that are worth exploring in a single command like ls, right? So that's why the knowledge is boundless. So start preparing, and then other things will follow it. Anyhow, so this is about ls command. Like that, several other things are there. So we will see some more useful command in today's this thing. Like let me see. Like date is a command. Date is a command by which you can know what is the current date and time. Date includes date and time, actually. So Thursday, April 22nd, 9:25. 9:25 is what it is. Wonderful. IST 2021 and all that. So it is displaying all this. But date also has got many other options anyhow. So if you want to know like the date, this thing, you issue man followed by this print or set the system date and time. That's what it does. You can also change the system date and time, provided you are the privileged super user, right? Root user kind of thing. Otherwise, normal users can always know what is the date and time. They can't modify it. They can't set it. So what is the syntax and all that? Syntax and all that is given in this particular way. Date. And after that, options. Any options are there. And then any format is there. What is the format in which you want to display the date and time? Right? So date, what are the options here? Below it's going to give you what are the various options there and all that. So let us take a look into that. Minus D. Display time described by string, not now. So by default, date displays the current date and time. Whereas if you want to display a date as given by a string, then it's going to display that particular thing. For that, minus D option is going to be useful. Minus debug is something different. Minus a file date file, like minus date once for each line of date, date file, whatever. So it is for every line, it's going to display one corresponding date, whatever is there. Minus I output date time in ISO format, right? Minus I ISO format. So in this particular format, it's going to get. We'll look into that. Minus R is output date and time in RFC format. Right? There are different formats because there are so many countries. Each country has got its own style of displaying date and time. So that is their culture. That is the way in which they understand their own date and time. Right? So that's where standards are coming and all that. So RFC 33, 39 format. So it is something totally different. And reference displays the last modification time of each file. Right? Of each file. Reference equal to file or whatever. Then set, if you want to change the time and all that, you use minus S. And after that, you specify what date and all that. Minus U is universal, print according to the universal time coordination, UTC and all that. So, and several other details are there. So here within the format controls the output. Interpreted sequences are the following. Percent is percentage anyhow. Percentage A means locates abbreviated weekday. For example, Sunday. So whenever you issue in the format you said like there, that format means percentage A. Percentage A means it displays week in 3-letter word, Sunday like that. Percent capital A means it displays the complete name, Sunday, that week name, basically. Percent B means month, abbreviated. Percentage capital B means month, full answer. Percent C is locates date and time in a specific form. This is the default one. Capital C means century also it's going to display whatever. And day of the month is percentage D. And percentage capital D means it's going to display in this particular manner. %m slash %d slash %y. That means month slash day slash y. This is what this thing. %f full date, same as %y, %m, %day. Like this, there are so many things. So date and time has got so many fields, and all those individual fields have got specific format character here. Specific format characters here, and you can choose what you want and do all that. For example, hours and minutes also you want to display, you can give %h hours it displays, %I is it is a 12-hour format, whereas here it is a 24-hour format, all that, right? So month is %m and capital M is minutes actually. New line, wherever you want, you can always display %n like this. So it's a big list. You take any command, there will be a big list there, and as a part of that, %w is Sunday, day of the week, or whatever. 0 is Sunday, and the week number of the year and all that. So there are so many details. Now let us actually use any one of those this thing. So for example, so like this, and after that you specify percentage followed by h, let us say. You can see. So this is actually 9 hours right now. So after date, if you want to give the format, you specify a plus, and after this you can give any numbers of those things. For example, you are interested in displaying the week, like A, B also we have seen. For example, capital B is going to give you complete Thursday, and April is a month, right? So % followed by month is what we'll have to see there, capital M by any chance. Capital M is minutes actually. So M is this particular thing. Let us say only this much. So it's a part of it. B is April or what, here. 04 is a month here, percentage A. This is a week actually. Then it is better you give all of this in quotes so that space also can be given in such a case. A single argument you will have to give. So you can see there Thursday, April. Like this, you can choose any of those specific fields and then create your own formatted thing, whatever that you would like to. For example, you want to display only hour and minutes kind of thing. Now it is very easy for you. Hour and minutes is percentage hour, and then a colon, for example, and then minutes, percentage followed by minutes, and then seconds you want, percentage, yes. So seconds here, actually it is probably something else, we don't know, like 16, 19. It's giving altogether a different thing there, probably capital S, right? Capital S will take you to that particular thing. Like this. So when you experiment like this, it becomes a part of you. It's not that somebody gives you and try to remember hard and all. It doesn't. When you start using them, it becomes a part of you there as a part of it. So any number of times you can and all that. But remember now, so date itself is giving all this thing, no doubt. But by using a combination, there are other useful commands as well. For example, there is a command called cut command. Cut command. Cut, what it will do is, most of these commands will work on text files, text data. Now, cut command, what it does is, it's going to read every line and then cut a part of it and displays. And another line it reads, cut a part of it and then display, and all that. What is cat doing? Cat command is actually opening the file, reading every line and displaying that line. Read another line, display. Read another line, display, and so on. What is NL doing? NL command, it opens the file And then what it does, it reads a line, but reads the line as it is. After reading the line, it displays the line number followed by a tab and then the actual line. And again read another line and display the line number, a tab followed by the corresponding. So like this, every command has got its own purpose. You also can easily implement those things by using your C language knowledge. Now cut is another interesting command. What it will display only a part of it. It is going to cut a part of it and then display. But how are you going to tell which part and all that? So there is a syntax for that particular thing. So let us now see how we can use cut command. So for example, remember now like the date command output can be passed as input to the cut command by using a pipe symbol. That's what we have been doing, right? By using date. And then when you use a pipe symbol here, and then you use any command here, any command, for example, WC. When you use a WC command, word count, the other day also we have seen, it's going to give you the statistics of the number of characters, number of words, and number of lines in that particular data. Now the word count is going to get the input from the output of the date command, right? This is how you are linking the commands to work together and get actually displaying. There is one line. Naturally, date is displaying only one line. There are 6 words. Words means actually for this, the meaning of a word is anything that is separated by spaces. Word separator here is a space. So that's why, as you can see, Thursday is one word, April is another word, 22 is the third word, and this 09 to this entire thing is a single word, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 words, and altogether there are 29 characters. When you count it, you will get to know. Now, instead of using a word count, we can use a cut command, right? This cut command, what it does, it's going to cut a part of it. But how are you going to tell which part you are interested in and all that? For that, there are different options. You can choose based on the character position. What are the characters in each line that are to be displayed? Not A, B, C and all that, but the positions, the first character, 10th. So for that, there is an option called -C, right? -C. So you are now choosing based on the character position. For example, you want to display April, the month as such. Already the date output format is always fixed. The first 3 characters indicate the week. And then the 4th character is a space. 5, 6, and 7 indicates the month, abbreviated month name. For example, you want to know what is the month name. So what are the character positions? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Here character positions are starting from 1, not from 0 as in C language and all. So 5th character you are interested. 6th character also, comma separated, all those things you can specify. But no spaces in between, because this entire thing must be given as a single entity.
This one.
Somewhere, I can't remember. Where is it? 74788 update. This one is 76630. నీకు వచ్చిందా సార్? ఏం లేదు, మళ్ళీ మాట్లాడతాం. వేరే ఇంకొక వస్తూ ఉంటాడు. இந்த நம்பரை ఇంకా 10 నిమిషాలు రిపేర్ చేస్తానండి, క్లాస్ అయిపోతుంది. Okay, so the cut command, you can use it to display a part of every line that you are going to read. Based on the character position, you can choose. Now the month name is 5, 6, and 7. So you can give comma separated. Only thing is, you should not leave any spaces, because the moment you give a space, that option field is over. It will move on to the next command line and all that. So those are the things that you have to pay attention. So right now it is actually displaying the April, a part of it you are interested, right? Any part you can choose. So sometimes, like if you know that they are all like side by side next to one another and all that, you don't have to give all of them straight away. Instead, you can also give a hyphen here, 5 to 7, right? 5 up to 7. That's what you really mean by, right? So all the characters starting from 5 to 7 you are interested. So if you want to have like April and like something else, like for example 5 to 8, so that space also is going to be there, right? And then you can give a comma, right? A combination also you can always choose. So essentially you are interested now, for example, April, and then the timing also you are interested. Let us say 3, 4, 7, 8, 8 plus 2, like 10, 11, 12 and 13 are the hours, right? Timing and all. So you can choose 12. All right. So comma 12 and 13, 14, 15, 16. Let us say 12 to 16. Right. Like this also, you can always choose. So hyphen is required like this. So when you give like this, so it's giving April 9:43. So essentially, it is not the date command that is giving you all this. It is date together with cut. Both of them together are working and then giving whatever that you are interested. No doubt this as well, by using date with appropriate options there, you can do that. But sometimes probably date is not giving all that flexibility. It is only giving the final outcome always in one fixed format. But you are interested in a part of it. In such a case, by using two commands together, you can always get the objective done. So this is the advantage of what it is, Unix commands and their features, shell and all that, right? By using a pipe, you are making two commands to work together and get you the bigger objective there as a part of it. It's not only using like this thing. You can use cut command against a file also. From every file, you are interested in displaying something, right? So you can always do that. For example, ls minus l is there, right? ls minus l is there, like. So it's giving all this. Probably you are interested in a part of it. Like you don't know that there is something called minus s to display the size and all that. But you are interested in displaying this particular part. So if you know the position of those characters in everything, because it is always fixed here. So based on that also, you can always choose and then display that, whatever that you are actually interested in. Okay, so let us now go into some more details. So cut is very simple. All these commands are simple commands if you understand correctly. And practice that and see the feedback, whether you have understood properly or not. Right? So otherwise, like it becomes a complex thing and all that. So anyhow, so months.txt is there, capitals.txt, week.welcome, and students.txt. All this particular thing. Okay, so now let me introduce to the other thing called other commands. There is a command called head. We'll come back to cut once again. There are some more features that you may have to look into. But apart from it, some of the top lines. You may have a large files, but you want to know, like there may be too many large files, but you have forgotten what contents is there in each one. But if you display by using cat, it will run to so many. You want to display only first few lines of a file, right? So you can use a pipe symbol and then less and see all that. That is one way of it. But instead of that, you have a command called head, by which you can display the top lines. For example, head followed by months.txt, for example. So it's going to display the top 10 lines. The default behavior of the head command is to display the top 10 lines, the first 10 lines of every file. So it is displaying the first 10 lines here, right, as a part of it. So whatever. Instead of that, if you are interested in the first 3 lines or whatever, so you please say minus followed by 3, for example. It displays the first 3 lines. It is a simple mechanism. So like that, you can always do that. Similarly, you also have a command called tail, which is going to display the last few lines. So last 3 lines here, you are interested, it's going to display. If you don't give any option here, by default, last 10 lines, it's going to display. Last 10 lines, it's going to display that. So for example, like here, you can see head followed by T20 or cricket back or whatever, T20, let us say, like this. So it displays this thing. It's too big. Each line is a too big a thing as a part of it. If you display only the first this thing, if you display the first, only one line you are interested, -1, head -1. And you can see the first line here gives you the header of the corresponding file. So there are too many fields within this particular, each line corresponds to one record of one cricket, like batsman information and all that. As you can see, the first field is the player name and then the span. So how many years did he play and how many matches, number of innings, how many times he is not out, total number of runs, highest score, and then average score, how many balls faced, strike rate, number of hundreds, number of 50s, number of zeros, how many times he is out for 0, how many fours, number of sixes. So these are the various fields that you have. In between you have space there, right? So we don't know whether it is a space or a tab sometimes. Sometimes we don't know whether it is a space or a tab. So for that, actually, there is another interesting command called OD, octal dump, right? OD. So OD, you can directly open a file, also display octal dump, or because now you are interested only in displaying the first line and see what is there in between player and span. Is it a too many spaces there or a single tab character, right? You want to know that. So when you display like this, it's displaying all junk there. It's because it is displaying in octal characters. Octal dump, it is called. It is displaying in octal notation. Whereas it also allows you to display in other formats, individual characters, right? See. So when you display like this, as you can see, it is displaying player, right? PLAYER. These are the characters. And after that, you actually see that tab character. It's not too many spaces, but there is a single character called tab character. So what it means is all the fields within each line, they are separated by tab character. Player is one field, a tab, and then span is another field, a tab, like this. So it is a tab delimited file. Like that we also call it tab separated file, you can say. Fields are separated by tabs. Sometimes the fields can be separated by commas, right? All it depends upon our choice there as a part of it. Now that this particular T20 International has got how many fields are there? You have the player is one field, span is second field, matches is another one. So let us not like a display tab there and all that, so that it's more confusing. Instead of that, player 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 15. 15 fields are there altogether. If you want to display only selected fields, right, then the cut command is going to be handy, is going to be helpful to you. You can cut each portion, right? Right now we have already seen, you know about how to cut based on the character position. Similarly, based on the field position, you can display. And whenever the field is coming, so delimiter also, there must be a mechanism by which you should select what delimiter that you want to use. So right now it is tab is there. So for example, now cut command, how to use and display, right? Cut minus, use the minus for option. Instead of C, you are going to use F now. Field position. What are the fields of your interest that you are interested? I am interested in the player name, right? For example, span I am not interested. How many matches he has played, let us say, that also you are interested. Number of matches, this thing. Innings I am not interested, let us say. Matches, innings. How many not outs? Runs I am interested. 3 plus 3, 6 1. 6th field is a run. And highest score is 7. And number of hundreds also you are interested, let us say. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So these are the things of your interest. So you are actually using cut followed by all the options, and then what is the file that contains all these details, right? You display this. Because there are too many lines that you are likely to get, you use a pipe symbol and then pass it on to less as a part, so that we can examine line by line, right? So now when we queue like this, you can see player, matches, runs, highest score and hundreds. So Virat Kohli, T20 internationals, actually he is the highest run scorer in T20 international. So 90 matches he played, 3,159 runs, 94 is the highest score, not out. 0 hundreds for that. This thing. Guptill has got 102 matches, 2939 runs, highest score is 105. Like this, you can actually access any field of your choice. Rohit Sharma is there, 111 matches, but highest score is 118. 4 centuries he has got. 4 centuries. Anyhow, so like this, you can use a cut command. By default, it is actually using a tab. Sometimes the delimiting character may be something different. In such a case, for example, dot tx. You can see there like comma separated here actually. It is a comma separated one. So you are interested now in displaying only the names of the candidates, let us say, from the students, right? You should be able to do that. You should be able to do that very conveniently. It is a second field. Second field is the name. So two you are using, let us say. And then what is the name of the file? Name of the file is students, whatever. Less and all that is not required. There are only 4-5 lines. When you give like this, it's actually displaying everything because it considers the default delimiter as a tab. So starting from here until the end, the entire thing is a single field. Whereas now you need to specify that your delimiting character is something different, not a space or not a tab, but minus D. D stands for delimiter. And then comma is the delimiter now. Minus D. Delimiter is a comma and minus second field. You are interested. Then it is going to display Ram Prasad, Sita Madhuri, Jivan Rao, and all that. Right? So like this, it is possible to extract any information, just like a database kind of thing. Right? So all these commands are designed in the days of Unix, about 50 years back, at which time you don't have any of the database systems like Oracle, MySQL, SQL Server. None of these things were there at that point of time. So they used to process every data processing kind of applications by using files, simple files only. And all these commands are so powerful that you can do anything that you are now doing against your MySQL, whatever, by using select, so such kind of thing. And these things are very fast, much faster than the databases. So they have their own relevance. So only when you like work on them, then you realize the potential of these file-based systems and then the other database systems. So cut is this is what cut is actually doing. Now let us see here. So you have the capitals, months, and all that particular thing. For example, capitals is there, states is there. So let us display the capitals first. What is there in capitals? In the capitals, you have Amaravati, Bengaluru, Chennai, and all that. Right? Remember that. That is a file, basically. There is another file called states. Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, and all that. So you have the what it is, the state names, some of the state names, and their capitals are there in another this thing. But both of them are there in two different files. But we know that first line here in states correspond to the first line in the capitals. Both of them will match. No issue. So how are you going to actually combine these two together? Right? So first line from here you have to take, and then a separator, and first line from this file is a delimiter, and then the second line from the second file, and so on. That's what you want, right? For that, there is another interesting command called paste command. The command is a paste command. Paste followed by. So what is that? You want states as such, and after that, capitals you are interested. So first line from states, first line from capitals. Second line from states, second line from capitals. Separated by some delimiter, so that you can make some sense out of that, right? You can give any number of files like this. Then it's going to give first line from first file, first line from second file, first line from third, and so on, any number, right? So when you queue like this, it's now generating an output where Andhra Pradesh matched with Amaravati, Karnataka with Bangalore, Tamil Nadu with, and all that. So this is another interesting, useful command that one can actually use. So in this particular manner. Hello. భోజనం చేస్తున్నాడు, టిఫిన్ చేస్తున్నాడు, ఇస్తానులేండి కాసేపు, ఇంకా 5 నిమిషాలు. Right, so paste command is in this particular manner. You can actually give. Okay, so it's a very simple command again. So try to actually go through that. If you have any doubts, you can raise. Okay. Similarly, like let us look into students and marks. Students and marks files. So what is there in students and what is there in marks? Students file here, what we have is a comma separated one, no doubt. But the first field there is the ID. You are assuming that this is the ID number. 101 ID, 102 ID and all. Some registration number kind of thing and the name of that. Similarly, the second file, what we have is marks file. In this marks file, you have the ID numbers and then the marks in 3 different subjects, separated by commas. So these are the 2 files that we have. Now that we want to combine these 2, so that they may not be in the same order and all that. Right, as you can see, for 101, 102, 103, 101 to 105 details are there, ID details. Whereas marks are there for 101, 102, 103, no, you don't have the marks. But 104 you have. 105 you don't have again. 106 and 110, their names are not there, but the marks are there. So all these possibilities are there, basically. So you can't just simply attach first line here, first line there, second line, as you do in paste. You require some other intelligent command that understands the ID number there and ID number here, and then matching IDs only must be joined, right? That's where the join command is going to be helpful. So you have 2 files where the first field is common to both the files. It is a ID number is a common to both the files. Now you want to join based on the ID numbers, right? So that's where the join command is going to be handled. Join. And after that, like what are to be joined? Students. And then marks. Then marks. So it is not, you are not getting anything because join again is understanding based on certain delimiter concept. The default delimiter again is a tab kind of thing. So you have to inform join command that the delimiter now is a comma, right? Is a comma there. So by using minus followed by delimiter in the case of join, what is the option for that? We'll have to see. Most likely it is T, I think. Delimiter separator is a comma kind of thing. We'll see. Whenever you have a doubt, you have always the man page. The first thing is that you must read, understand the power of so many other commands, try to practice. And after that, you understand that whenever there is a need, you can easily visualize, oh, maybe that command will be helpful. Even if you forget the options, you can always refer to that and then start getting the solutions. So that is the approach. So as a student, you can easily remember many things. Remembrance is a difficult kind of thing. So now, as you can see, minus T followed by a comma, you are informing the join command that these files contain fields separated by commas, not separated by tabs. Now 101 Ram Prasad is joining with 67, 90, 45 marks. Sita Madhuri is something, 104 David also. This thing. Only 3 candidate details are there in both students as well as marks. But there are some more data that is there exclusively in student. But not there in marks. Similarly, some data is there in marks, but not there in students. This is only outcome of all that. So sometimes, like you want both actually. you want both kind of thing as a part. So you can see here what are the other options that you have by giving man followed by join. Join lines of two files on a common field. And remember, this joining command will only work when the files that you are submitting, they are already sorted in a specific order. When you are joining based on the ID number, then both the files should contain the data sorted on the ID numbers. Only then it will behave properly. Right? So it is going to expect the files to be sorted in that particular joining field order. -a file name also print unpairable names, lines from file, this thing. Right? So you want to display both, always use, as you can see, hyphen followed by capital A followed by 1. Is it capital A or small a? Right. So when you give like this now, 101 to 105, these are the student records. Right. So what you are instructing now is that I am interested in joining the information from the students, this thing, no doubt. But not only for the matching one, for the unmatched ones also display the output. Display the output for unmatched things also. Then in such a case, you say -a followed by 1. That means from the first file, if there is any unmatched thing, that also you display. So you can see now 101 Ram Prasad, that data it has got, 2 also it has got. But for 3, you don't have any data. But it is displaying that. It is displaying 103 Jeevan Rao, but you don't have marks data for that particular film. Depending upon what interest you have, you choose accordingly based on the requirement. 104, you have again data. David, there are 2 lists. 105, data is there in student, not there in marks. Like this, if you want to display even the marks details but not student, that also you can say by saying -a followed by 2. -a followed by 2. The second file detail. We will stop at this stage from next week onwards. Any questions? Are you all there? Getting my voice?
Yes, sir.
So anything specific is there, we can, otherwise we can slowly close the session. So practice along these lines, like in the syllabus you have all those text processing utilities, then file system utilities, networking utilities, like that. So even on the internet also you can give top, let us say 50 commands, something like that. It's going to give you a big list there and all that. But remember, only when you practice